Alright, so time for the solutions for the side angle side congruence assignment. So in this entire first section, you're saying if the two triangles are congruent, and if they are, you state how you know. If they are, on this one it's going to be because of side angle side. So if you look at number 1 here, the one I just almost erased there, we have a pair of sides that match, another pair of sides that match, and the angle between them. That gives you side angle side on both of those triangles. So this one is yes by side angle side. And that brings us to 2. Right now there's only 2 pairs of congruent sides. And so if these middle angles were congruent, then we could have side angle side. Well, luckily, when you have 2 lines that intersect, like so, they create what are called vertical angles, which are these ones here. So we can add those congruent marks, because vertical angles are congruent to each other. And yeah, any angle you have made from the 2 opposite angles made from intersecting lines are congruent. They're vertical angles. So now we have congruence by side angle side. Side angle side. Side angle side. Those match up. That brings us to 3. When you have a side that is shared, you can add some tick marks there, because that side is congruent to itself. That's called the reflexive property. And now if we look at the bottom triangle here, we have a side, the angle, and then the other side of that angle. So the bottom one has side angle side, but this top one has side, side, and then the angles on the end. So that one is going to be no, because they both don't have side angle side. On 4, these 2 triangles only match on their angles, so that does not give a guarantee of their size matching. So that's a no, because when the angles are the same, that just means they're similar. It doesn't tie down their actual size. It brings us to 5. Again, when you share a side, it's reflexive property. You can add those congruent markings. So for the left triangle, we have side angle side, because when you have a line here and one side's a right angle, the other side has to be a right angle as well. So we have side angle side, and on the other one we got side angle side. So we got yes on 5, and it's side angle side. And finally that brings us to 6. Let's add that tick mark in the middle, because those 2 triangles share that side. It's congruent to itself. That's reflexive property. And now if I look, I have side, angle, and then side, and side, angle, side. So both of these have side, angle, side. So we're going to have yes by side, angle, side. And that brings us to the next section. So on this section, we need to state what additional information we need to have to get the congruence listed. So all these, you're trying to get side, angle, side. But there's a piece missing, and you have to write down what that piece is to get the answer. So if I look at these 2 triangles here, I have 2 pairs of congruent sides that match. KJ, HG match up, JI, and GF match up. But we don't have the angle that goes between them. So we have the 2 sides, but not the angle in between. So we need the angle here at J and the angle at G to match up. To write that down, you're going to write angle and do KJI. Congruent to angle HGF. When you say those letters, it draws the angle for you. And that brings us to 8. Remember, when you have 2 lines intersecting, that creates vertical angles, and the opposite ones are congruent. So we can automatically add those congruent markings. So now we have a side, and then the angle, but we don't have this last side. And that's the same down here. Side angle, but not the other side. And so we need this side and this side to match up. So that's what I'm going to write down. ES, I want that to be congruent to, that's an S, congruent to TS. And that's what I'm looking for on 8. On 9, we have a similar story. We can add these little congruence markings, because those are vertical angles. We have side and then the angle, but not the next side. And on the other one, we have side, angle, and we need the other side. So we need these 2 sides to match up. in order to have congruence by side angle side. So I need CB to be congruent to GB. And that brings me to 10, which is a similar story. Again, we want those you can add because they're vertical angles. We need the side that's on the other side of the angle, so we already have these matching. We need these last two sides matching to have side angle side. So we need XY to be congruent to CY, and that's 10. And that brings us to the next section. We have 11 here. Again, we want side angle side. When you share a side, you can add your tick marks because those are that's the reflexive property. And now we need this small angle here in the corner. We need both of these angles to match up because that'll give me the side, then the angle in the corner, and then the other sides matching up. So I want angle XLM to be congruent to angle KLM. So just as you list the letters, it draws the angle. So keep that in mind. And that brings us to 12. Again, we have these vertical angles in the middle. These sides already match. We want the other side of the angle, the one with the little tick, the little arcs there, to match up. So we have that one already. We want these sides to match. So I want CW to be congruent to XW. And that's that first section. The last section, you're supposed to write a proof to show that the triangles are congruent. So this is really just breaking down the process into a series of steps for you. On the left, you have your conclusions. And on the right side, you have your reasons or your proof for each of your conclusions. It makes it a lot easier if you have these triangles labeled. So I do A, B, C, and then D, E, F. And now I'm going to start with the givens. I already know that these two sides match because it's on the picture. And if you can say because it's on the picture, your reason is given. It's given to you right at the start. So I know AB is congruent to DE because it's given. And I also know these other sides match up. Here, let me put like this. So AC is congruent to DF, also because it's given. And then I have these two angles match because of the little marking that's there. So my next reason is given as well. I know those angles match up. So that's BAC is congruent to angle EDF. So now I have the sides matching, these sides matching, and then the angles matching. I now have side angle side, which lets me know that those two triangles are congruent. Triangle BAC is congruent to EDF. And how you list those letters is important because the first one has to match up with the first one on the triangle. So B has to play the same role as E on the other triangle. Same with A and D, and then C and F. So make sure you're careful on how you list the order of those letters. That brings me to 14. I'm going to do the columns over here on the right side because I got a little bit more room. I'm going to just stick with the first letters of the alphabet because I'm lazy, I guess. Alright, I already have some congruence markings. Those two sides are the same. So BC is congruent to AD. And that's a given. Yeah, I'll put actually label stuff, conclusions. And I also know that these two angles match up. So that's angle CAD is congruent to, so CAD is congruent to ACB. And that's also a given. And I know when two triangles share a side, you can add the congruent markings there. AC is congruent to itself, AC. And that's called the reflexive property. And now we have all that. We have side, angle, and then the side matching in the middle. So we have side, angle, side. And those two triangles match up. Triangle DAC is congruent to triangle BCA. So remember, those had to match up. DAC, BCA. The corresponding points had to match up. 15, again, let's start in the middle. Let's do L, M, N, and then P, Q, R. For my letters, actually, let's make those capital. P, Q, R. Okay, again, go for the two-column proof here. I already know that these two sides match up because it's given, these two sides match up because it's given, and these two angles match up because it's all given to you in the picture. And so LM is congruent to PQ. That's a given. MN is congruent to QR. So those sides match. That's a given. And then the angle between them, this middle angle for both of those, which I'm going to say LMN, PQR, those match up. Angle LMN is congruent to angle PQR. That's also a given. And now that I have two sides and the angle between them, I have side, angle, side, which lets me know that those triangles are the same. They're congruent. Triangle LMN is congruent to triangle PQR. Once again, make sure those letters match up. And finally, our last one. I just put it. Actually, we need to bring that down a little bit. And we got our two columns. Here, let's do F, G, H, J, and K. There's labels. You need to have some labels down for yourself. I know that these two segments are congruent to each other. So GH is congruent to JH, and that's a given. I know these other two sides match up. So FH is congruent to KH, and that's also a given. And these two angles, we need those to be congruent, and luckily they are, because they are vertical angles. So when you have two lines that intersect, the opposite angles are congruent to each other. So angle FHG is congruent to angle KHJ, and that's because they're vertical angles. And since we have two sides and the angle between them on both triangles matching up, we have side, angle, side. And so these triangles, triangle FHG is congruent to triangle KHJ. And there you go.